everybody, and welcome to another episode here at Tribal Trades, the daily show coming at you from the great state of Florida. One hell of a drug. And I do want to welcome you to the channel, wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Thanks for watching. And today we're going to look at, is this the election outbreak, or is this just a fake out? What is Bitcoin going to do next? We're going to look at some news, some historical data, and we're going to jump into the charts. And of course, before we do that, as always, if you're a regular watcher of the show, smash the like. This does help get this channel out to more people, and of course does help support the channel. Love all of the comments, the kind words that people leave below. Do really appreciate that. And of course, I do get back to the questions that are asked there as well as soon as I am able to. Don't forget about the cheat sheet. If you're new to the channel, I do get asked this a lot. It is the top link in the description below there. You can check that out. That's my roadmap to this bull market success there. And there is a link below also for the Discord. I was in the Discord yesterday, dropped a load of charts and entries, the Dogecoin one as well. We got the altcoin show coming up in a couple of hours. So if you're not in the Discord and you'd like to join us in the Discord, there's links below on how you can get signed up for that there in the description. Okay, we're going to jump into some news, and then we're going to jump into the charts there. And so first of all, since 2012, Bitcoin has always broken out to new highs after the US elections. The next US election is only 8 days away. Of course, now it's only 7 days away. And so you can see here that in Bitcoin's history, we have always seen a breakout. And we actually generally, historically as well, Bitcoin is always kind of pumped into the election as well. So I think we're seeing a bit of a breakout because people know, oh, it's going to pump really hard after the election. I want to jump in now, and that leads to price moving upwards into the election as well. So those people, I just, I saw some people who thought, oh, it's going to dump into the election, and I just couldn't really figure that out there. But certainly we are starting to see that election breakout there for Bitcoin. And Rex Capital, Bitcoin is breaking out from the bull flag already. The only condition for the breakout to be fully confirmed is for the price to remain above 69,000 for the rest of the week. So we have broken out of the bull flag, and we have retested successfully, and now we just need to hold that level so we don't see a fake out there for Bitcoin. And of course, the hash ribbons indicator, which I've talked about multiple times on this channel over the last few months, has actually flashed blue. And when this has flashed blue, it has usually not failed to see some significant upside for Bitcoin. Of course, the only time that it failed was back in 2020 when we had that black swan event there. Otherwise, we have seen significant gains on that flash, the hash ribbons indicator. We'll look at that in the charts in just a moment. And of course, I told you this. I told you would happen as soon as the golden cross. I told you weeks in advance that was the time to load up on Bitcoin. And then we saw the golden cross, and I said everybody was going to start posting about it, and that's going to lead to everybody jumping in. And that is exactly what has happened, as I predicted on that there. And of course, we have Moonvember is just around the corner, which historically has been extremely bullish for Bitcoin, particularly in halving years. You see 2020 there was a 42%, almost 43% rise. Only a 5% rise in 2016 there. So certainly it has been Moonvember has been a fairly bullish month. And also December, certainly 2020 was absolutely crazy in that phase. And we had 30% up in 2016 in the halving years. All right, we are going to jump into the charts very quickly here with Bitcoin. And there's a couple of things that I want to look at here. Number one is there's the hash ribbons indicator, and you can actually add that to your charts just by going to indicators and hash ribbons. And we certainly have the buy signal there for Bitcoin, and we can see when that flashed here, we have now seen some upside here. There is a little bit of caution though, because I am noticing some slight bearish divergence on the charts there. This is where you see the price here upwards. You can see the price going upwards here for Bitcoin, but on the RSI down the bottom here, we certainly see here. We can grab this properly here. We can certainly see it's going slightly down, a little bit lower on the RSI. So certainly, now what does that mean? Firstly, that doesn't always play out, but it has a high probability. That's number one. There's a high probability of playing out. Number two is it doesn't always play out right away. The last time we saw some bearish divergence on Bitcoin, it continued to pump quite significantly from that bearish divergence before we did see this pullback here and the same over here. And so certainly we could see this continue to go, create a new all-time high, for example, could see alts pump significantly over the next 2 or 3 days before we see, and that's if we see a pullback there with some bearish divergence. So just a little urge caution there. Certainly if you have hit some take profit levels for any of the trades that you're in, possibly it may not be a bad idea to take some profit off the table or move your stop loss up. Think about moving your stop loss up to protect the profit in case there is a pullback and therefore you're not going to lose those gains. So where we'd be looking at now for Bitcoin? Well, number one, who could have predicted this all the way back in May when I started this channel, where I predicted that Bitcoin would break out to the upside of this wedge before October 31st. And look what happened. It happened on the 28th of October. So 3 days. I had 3 days to spare for my prediction to come to pass. And this is why there was such confidence in, sharing with the community that I was buying these dips heavily and buying these dips over here. And this was the confidence here. And of course, when we came down to here, people were saying, oh no, we're going to see lower. We're going to see lower. And it's like, well, here's the 200 EMA on the daily. This is exactly what happened last year. This is exactly what happened 4 years ago. And we are just following the cycle as we have every other time. So where could we see a possible entry? Obviously, a pullback here to the tribal trades trend line, which has struck again. This has had a huge success ratio here in providing support and resistance there. Certainly now it provided resistance, and then we broke through, and now we're looking for a touch to come back for support. Now, of course, it could go up much higher, much higher. We're into a Lux Algo order block, so we've kind of been stuck just for the meantime here. But certainly a lot of shorts getting liquidated. More will get liquidated at 74,000. And so really we're just seeing, do we have a little bit of a pullback? And there could be a good entry around that $69,000 level. Actually, just around that 69,400, we could find a little bit of a pullback and a little bit further of a pullback to that 68,400. So that would be that level there, where if you felt that you missed out a little bit of FOMO, but just have a stop loss that if we come back, and a good place to get out of a trade like this, if you're doing a swing trade, is if we came back below here, below the trend line, we tried to break back through it, and now it's acting as resistance, and we reject. And on the rejection is where you can get out of the trade there, of course. So that's one way to set a stop loss. Certainly the 50-day moving average, and we've had that golden cross happening right here with the 200 there. This blue line has clearly gone under. The darker blue long line here, as exactly as I kept giving people warnings that this was going to happen. It was going to send the price of Bitcoin upwards. If you listen, if you follow the trades, you should be in significant profits. There is no reason that anybody should be losing any money here. You should be up significantly, have given you all these levels. I gave you the timeline that it was going to happen. I told you back in May that we were going to have a breakout here to the upside of this trend line before the 31st. And not only have we broken through this first trend line here, we've actually also broken through this second trend line here, which I also said we would break through before the end of the year, and we've done that quite comfortably. And remember, I also said regarding Bitcoin that historically, and I said this at the beginning of the month, that historically Bitcoin usually puts in a halving year. It's October high when? By October the 29th, or the 31st. And of course, on the 29th, we have a high. And so that will keep. So in the next halving cycle in 4 years' time, we're going to be able to say Bitcoin October highs were the 29th of October, the 31st of October, and at least the 29th of October if we put in a higher high on the 30th or the 31st. But we have again struck that 3-day window. This is predictable historical trading, and history does not always repeat. It has in this case, but it does often rhyme. And so that was a trade that I gave you at the very beginning of the month. And as I said, October the 10th, usually the low is in before October the 11th. That's exactly what happened. I told you that for September, that the low of the month was historically in within those first 8 days. That's exactly what happened. So I have been giving you, spoon feeding you these trades and this historical data here that you've been able to follow. And hopefully you've been able to make some good money on these trades. Now, generally, of course, we're not going to, unless there is a catastrophic collapse here in the Bitcoin price in the next 2 days, October 10th will be the low, which was about 58,900. Historically, when that has happened in a halving year, it has not gone, so both between now and the end of December in a halving year, Bitcoin has not gone back below that low. So we should not, if history repeats, we should not see 58,900 or below this year. And that can give us confidence in trading. Now, of course, we could have a significant pullback. Pullback levels here, if we're looking for entries, certainly there's one here at about you got $69,000 to $67,000 range. We could have a little bit of a shakeout, a wick down to here. There is some support line here on the EMAs, the EMA ribbon, another support line here at 64,600. But what did I give you? I gave you this line of support here at where were we, which was the September high. And the September high was over here. And this was the line that I gave you, and this is the line that I gave you for entry, and this is where I felt we would find support, and it's happened again exactly as I said, exactly as I predicted. And so we saw this line, and I've said it multiple times over the channel. Look how many times it gave you an opportunity for entry. For 5 days, it gave you an opportunity to get in at this critical support level here, which was the September high, which was 66,500. So, of course, we could come back and retest it. I think the most likely scenario is come back and retest the tribal trades trend line here at around the 68 to 69K area. And then we come down into the support line here for the September high. I think the fact that it didn't break it last time, we would need something, some kind of news that would bring this down sharply below this. But of course, the 50-day moving average continues to move up. And of course, we could say, well, it's going to come back and hit the 50-day moving average. Remember, historically, when we have a golden cross, Bitcoin does tend to come back and get drawn into it to retest it before taking off and going parabolic. And so I am looking for a retest to this 50-day moving average. Now, currently, that's sitting at around 63,800, but it is moving up all the time. So it's quite possible by the time it comes down to retest, it could well be up here at around 66,500. It could even be up at the tribal trades trend line at about 68K up there as it moves up. So we're just going to keep an eye on that line, but at some point, this is going to provide a good entry is what I'm saying. Whatever that entry is, when it comes back to test it on that 50-day moving average, historically has been a very, very good entry. Of course, we have the 200 EMA on the daily sitting down there at 61,250. That would be in my extreme case if we had an extreme pullback to these levels. And of course, we could come back in this range for a time being before we take off again to the end of the year. But I think the low for the end of the year is in. And I do think we are going to see at some point a retest of this 50-day moving average for Bitcoin. All right, well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. And as always, until the next episode, which is the Altcoin Show coming up in a couple of hours, happy trading.